to your point, Kara, I mean, there's already enough accidents on rural roads at nighttime in bad weather or whatever. If you're adding a factor of being able to drink, especially if would now be an underage drinker, but at that point would be a legal drinker, but still very new to driving, it might add an extra level of difficulty to that situation. I would think
It's scary as it is. I don't want to add drinking to that.
And you throw deers in the mix, that's a
Yeah.
whole other thing.
You said deers.
And apparently they're not Eastern Kentucky.
Did you say deers?
Deer, yeah. Deer, sorry. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I can say deers. Man, English teacher.
He does that a lot.
He does that.
He does, oh.
All right,
If I'd have
so
fought for every
let
time I've
me
heard that.
take this a little different direction with you guys. What are the moral arguments here? Pro and con. How do you view that?
Like moral as in responsibility, or like moral as in like biblical religion type of things?
All of the above. I mean, it's morality. So I would suspect, Melinda, that you would include a biblical perspective
Right,
in
right.
your view of morality. But what are the arguments that would be made, pro and con, from a moral standpoint?
From a moral standpoint, religiously, God says that we as people should use our bodies to glorify Him, because our bodies are a temple, as a way of worshiping Him.
Okay.
I mean, depending on how you view alcohol as a Christian, I mean, some Christians, like, they don't see alcohol as a bad thing as long as you don't get drunk. Because, like, Jesus, they drank alcohol in that time, but you also got to think about that was a different time period. They had to drink that stuff because water was bad to drink. So, I mean, it all depends on how you view the Bible
Right.
personally.
And that's what I'm asking you.
Me personally, I don't think alcohol is bad until you get drunk. If it starts controlling you, that's when you hit the problem there. When you start relying on it for, if you're depressed or something, I feel like that's when you hit the breaking point of it not being a good thing for you. Because I mean, like, a lot of people have livelihoods like making bourbon. It's a Kentucky thing. Like, bourbon is Kentucky. You can't make bourbon anywhere else. You can make stuff that tastes like bourbon, but it's
Right.
not technically bourbon.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of people base their livelihoods on alcohol, and I don't see that as a bad thing, as long as you keep it, like, moderate. Like, don't get drunk, don't overuse it, don't force anybody else to use it, stuff like that.
Okay. So related though back specifically to the issue that's on the table, changing the drinking age. What's the morality behind that?
I don't know, like, the issue, but for me, I would say that having it younger, morality, that's bad, because physically it can want you to drink more. Like she said, if you start early, you're going to drink more when you're older. So to avoid being drunk when you're older, you want to raise the drinking
Start
age.
later.
Yeah, you start later. So that whole thing of don't want to be drunk, have it older so you don't medically.
So I'll presume that you think that, so morally, even though you're okay with an adult that's over 21 drinking moderately, not getting drunk,
Right.
I'll presume that you think that it would be wrong for someone your age.
Yes.
Because it's against the law.
Yeah.
So ethically, morally, would your opinion then change if the law changes, that if you were 18, it's now okay versus 21?
I would say no, because I've seen what it's done to people who are 18 and how it can affect them later on in life. And so I think when you're 21, you at least have some start in life, but I've seen what it's done to people our age.
So just because it's a law doesn't mean that it's okay by law, it means that it's ethically or morally okay.
fist bump. And to each of you guys, I think you guys figured that out. The morality is not based on what some court or some,
Yeah.
certainly if it's illegal,
Right.
it contributes to the immorality, but in and of itself, there are issues that you raised, and I appreciate you guys considering that. Because one of you said something earlier about one of the pro arguments is that there would be more drinking if you lowered the age.
Yeah.
And I think we all probably would say, yep, that's the case. But morally, you seem to be saying that's not necessarily a good thing, right?
Yeah.
More drinking.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder with this recent Supreme Court thing that we just went through with Kavanaugh and Ford, you know, it wasn't talked about hardly at all in the media, but the role that alcohol played in all of that.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So, how many years ago was that? 25, 40, 30, however?
30 years.
30, 40 years ago, both of those young people were impacted for the rest of their life because of the prevalence of alcohol in a situation. And no one in the media was talking about how inhibitions are lowered. Sometimes bad stuff just happens when alcohol's present and younger people that aren't yet prepared to make those kind of life decisions. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Are
get on that.
Are you aware of any adjustments to drinking for places like New York banning soft drinks?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like a lot of, like in New York City, they put in situations where they ban soft drinks from being sold at schools and things of that nature. Are you aware of that?
I did not know that.
No
I'm actually
bourbon
kind
and
of
Coke?
surprised.
So I mean, we've got one state that's going to an extreme saying, hey, this is sugary drink, it's not healthy.
It's not good for you.
And yet, that very same state might be one of the first ones that would say, let's drop the legal limit or the drinking age of alcohol to 18. I mean, that would be kind of, that just seems foolish, doesn't it?
Right,
You know,
yeah.
But yet, that's kind of the way our culture is. It's whatever feels good and, you know, suits your fancy.
Are alcoholic drinks high in calories?
Beer
I think they
is.
are.
Beer
I
is.
think so.
I know beer is, but I'm not sure
It
about.
converts to sugar, right?
Yeah.
Whoa. Ban them.
Ladies, one of you, I can't remember, you mentioned binge drinking. I'm curious, I was reading as I was preparing for this as well, that many college and university presidents are actually in favor of lowering the drinking age. Can you think some reasons why that would be?
I can see reasons why that shouldn't be, but I don't know why it should.
I agree. I'm just curious,
Yeah,
if you're put yourselves in the shoes of a college or university president. You're responsible for everything that happens on your campus.
Liability.
So tell me why they may be in favor of lowering the drinking age to 18.
Maybe a reason would be because when you're a teen, you have parental supervision. So they might think that your parents could prevent injuries happening to you even though you drink.
Okay.
And a lot of that's probably peer pressure. Like
From the president?
the president, like people wanting the president to.
I like where Kara was going with the supervision part. So think about this, if you're a college student, and what's the normal age range of a college student? It's a standard four-year college, so 18 to 22-ish,
Yeah.
right? As a college student, we'll say. Kara said supervision, I think that's a great word. Why would a college president want the drinking age lowered? What does that help solve for the college president? What does that take off of his plate? What does that relieve him of the duty of?
Well, there's probably so much like underage drinking at like parties and stuff that he would see, so it wouldn't really, they wouldn't, I don't know, he would just ignore the fact that it's just so much and just like lower it so he wouldn't have to worry about it anymore.
Does he have to worry about it? That's one thing, but
You
is
won't
he
have to worry
also,
about it because parents would be watching.
could be legally responsible maybe?
Yeah.
If something happens on his campus that involves a minor that's under his supervision, as Kara said, right?
You ever hear of like fraternity hazing incidents and that kind of thing, and they're clearly under the age of 21, right? And so, and they take, rightfully so, a lot of heat for what happens on their campuses.
Speaking of that, I mean, there was an incident very recently during a football game here at UK's campus. Are you guys familiar with what happened there?
Yeah, he hit a kid and killed him.
There was a student
Yeah.
at the university who was a college student, hit a kid and killed the kid, and he was inebriated. Do you know where he was coming from? What was he doing before he got in the car and killed the kid?
Wasn't he taking people back to their cars
He was the one that was supposed to be responsible
He was the
for.
responsible driver. I think he was at a fraternity party where a lot of that drinking and hazing was going on, so.
Actually, if I recall, he would not have been legally DUI
Absolutely.
if the drinking age was 18. Do you know the difference in the DUI requirements for underage drinking and legally drinking?
If you're underage, it can't go above .02.
02, that's right,
02, yeah.
yes.
And then-
And for over 21, it's
.08.
.08,
Yeah.
and he was in between there,
Yeah.
right? And so there's someone who, in many ways, ruined his life, right?
Yeah.
Because of the legal age that was set on that, right?
If we get to the point where they lower the drinking age to 18, can you see that impacting high schools, like, and what I'm talking about in terms of like curriculum and things of that nature? What might happen at LCA and schools like us? They're not just private schools, but public schools as well. What might happen?
I researched where students like have an effect on their emotions, so they're more likely not to focus as well in classes, and they're also more likely to just drop out of high school altogether. And suicide rates also go up.
From the school perspective, so a lot of you all are 18 already in your senior class. And with that being the case, do you think that that creates almost like a conflict of some of your student bodies allowed to drink, some of them are not? What are the pros or cons of having that? Do you think that might influence the younger kids and they start drinking younger?
I could see that being a problem, like half of our class being able to drink and half of our class not being able to, because peer pressure and everything.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Currently, how big of a problem do you think underage drinking is at a high school level?
Well, high school, it's around the age of where a lot of underage drinking happens is junior and senior of high school and freshman and sophomore of college. That's usually the age range it happens the most. We talked to Officer Hart about that, and he said his opinion on it was he wants it to be like raised to a point where you're probably past college and to the point of already having your first job and everything. So.
Do you see a benefit to that, or could you give a list of benefits on why Dr. Hart would, or Mr. Hart, Officer Hart would think raising it even
I
over
mean,
21 would be better?
I personally see the benefits because you're able to like kind of get your life started ahead of time before making a mistake if it is lowered, because that like goes under records.
You said that a lot of the issue of drinking is junior year of high school through sophomore year of college before you ever even turn 21 in most instances. So do you think that that's, again, going back to, is it more enticing if you're not supposed to be doing it, or what happens between your sophomore and junior year of college that changes? Or was that just kind of an assumption? Is that factual, or?
Officer Hart said that. I forget what he said. I think he said why it's usually around that age is because you start to actually grow up around your junior and senior year of college, so like you get away from it. So I think that's what he said. So.
I think like reality will start setting in, like I need to get my act together, like I'm almost out of college, so like, I think that's why.
I think your hands are dry.
Very dry hands.
Obviously, we have laws in place to protect or prevent, or whatever word you want to put there, from young people from having access to alcohol. What are some other things that society does to try to prevent young people from drinking? Aside from the law, what are some other things that we do?
Well, I don't know about preventing, but we see a lot of commercialization that.
A lot of
like
what?
Commercials,
Like PSAs? Public service announcements? Is that what you mean?
no, like commercials is in like Bud Light commercials.
Okay, so I'm taking the opposite side
Yeah.
there. Do you see anything that ever,
Discouraging.
discourages, that's the word.
Like bringing in Officer Hart, or bringing in somebody that has dealt with that underage, like during chapel or something. I don't know if they do that they probably have, what's it called, stuff with that around the same, yeah, so I could see that being one of them, but I don't know other than that.
They used to have the state police come in and show you their videos of the car crashes
Yep.
Yeah.
that involve teenage drinking and driving, as a, hopefully a deterrent.
You ladies have mentioned a lot of advertising about alcohol. Are you familiar with any of the advertising rules around tobacco usage?
Yeah, the truth shops. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
How they try to like scare you into like not doing it anymore, but they show like I know the one with like Dick, he's like a normal kid, and then eventually like his jaw is like cancers and
To
stuff.
show you
so-
the physical outcome of an addictive life. Okay.
With the vaping, with the plug-in, with the vaping.
Would you guys be in favor of an ad campaign similar to that with alcohol ramifications? Would that be good?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. When was the last time you saw a commercial for cigarettes?
Probably yesterday.
I can answer this question actually. When was the last time you saw a cigarette commercial?
I haven't seen one in a while.
Mr. Sisk, when was the last time you saw a cigarette commercial?
1973?
73, I bet.
Yeah.
They banned all advertising on TV and radio
Yeah.
for cigarettes.
That's when Joe Cool, or not Joe Cool, Joe
Cool
Campbell.
wasn't cool anymore.
Camel.
Yeah.
He was banned.
So,
And the camel.
yes, they banned video and audio
Marlboro Man.
advertising for cigarettes to help
Fine
curb
purposes.
cigarette and tobacco addictions.
Right.
Yes, for underage people, but also for older
Virginia
people as well.
Slims.
What's that?
We weren't warned yet.
Okay, you weren't born yet. They haven't seen one either. It's fine. Would you be in favor of something like that in the way of alcohol? You talked about the massive number of very funny, but also very to the point alcohol commercials that you see during the Super Bowl and during other times. Do you think that that's a step that may be able to be taken to help curb some of the underage drinking?
I could see it being a step, yeah, because TV is very prevalent in our lives, like as teenagers, so I could see that being maybe not a deterrent, but just it's not pushing you to want it as more. So.
It's not deterring you, but it's also not shoving you at
Yeah,
it
shoving
either,
you
right?
at it, yeah.
Right.
Well, I think during the Super Bowl too, everyone looks forward to the commercials since they're all funny. So I think like it'll definitely be a good way to start doing those type of campaigns to like get it out there and show them.
But most of those alcohol commercials, even not Super Bowl, but just the ones that go on, you know, and the beer commercials, they're promoting an image, right? They're promoting the good life. In fact, it seems like one of the beers may even have had that as a tagline.
Sounds
High life.
The highlight, yes.
Yeah. And so, how do you combat that? If you want to try to help young people say, nope, that's not the right thing that you should be doing, how do you address that from an advertising standpoint? Is that morally right? And why should it be different than tobacco?